The city never really slept, not when thunder rolled across the skyline like a growl from heaven, not when sirens painted the streets red and blue. But that night, the city felt quieter, as if it were holding its breath. Emma Carter pressed her forehead against the cool glass of her bedroom window, watching the rain fall in silver ribbons. She was 22, a senior in college, and yet, at that moment, she felt like a little girl again, trapped in a house too big, too cold, and too full of secrets. Her stepfather, Agent Daniel Warren, had left an hour ago, answering yet another urgent call. He was always leaving, always chasing ghosts. And her mother? Gone 2 years now, lost in what the police called an accident. But even after all that time, Emma couldn't bring herself to believe it. Something about that accident never sat right with her. She ran her fingers along the edge of the window frame, her thoughts drifting to the sketchbook open on her desk. On the page, she had drawn him, the man from the alley, the one she had met only once and yet couldn't stop thinking about. He wasn't supposed to be there that night. Neither was she. It had been pouring rain, and Emma had ducked into a narrow alley to escape the storm. That's when she saw him. Tall, soaked, a faint scar running down his jawline, his hands trembling as if he'd been running from something, or someone. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, she felt everything. Fear, curiosity, and a pull she couldn't explain. He looked dangerous, but not cruel.
"Are you lost?" she had asked, her voice barely louder than the rain.
"Depends who's asking," he replied, his lips curving into a sad smile. "And whether she'll tell the cops."
Even now, weeks later, that moment haunted her. The way his voice broke on the word cops, the way he looked at her, not like a stranger, but like someone who already knew her soul. Emma hadn't told anyone about him, not her best friend, not her stepfather. But tonight, when she turned on the TV, her world shattered. Breaking news. The FBI continues the manhunt for Ethan Cole, wanted in connection with multiple high-profile robberies and the murder of a federal agent. Citizens are urged to remain cautious. The screen showed his face. And the same man she'd drawn over and over again in her sketchbook. The man from the alley. Her heart stopped. Ethan Cole. The name burned in her mind. She sank onto her bed, clutching her phone. Her hands were trembling as she typed a message she knew she shouldn't send. "Emma, are you okay?" Seconds passed, then minutes, nothing. But just as she started to delete the message, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Don't text me again. They're watching you too." Her breath hitched, her stepfather's voice echoed in her mind. "Never trust anyone outside this house, Emma. You don't know what people are capable of." But what if he was the one she shouldn't trust? And what if Ethan wasn't the monster the world believed he was? As the rain grew heavier, thunder shaking the sky, Emma's phone lit up once more. "Ethan, meet me tomorrow, one last time. I'll tell you everything." She knew it was dangerous. She knew her stepfather would kill her if he found out. But she also knew one thing. She couldn't ignore the truth anymore. And maybe, just maybe, she couldn't ignore what she felt for him either. The next evening, the city was swallowed in a storm again. The kind that soaked you to the bone in seconds and muffled every sound but your heartbeat. Emma stood under a flickering streetlight, clutching an umbrella that did little to protect her from the downpour. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She had told no one, not even her best friend. If her stepfather found out she'd come to meet a wanted criminal, she didn't know what he would do. But she had a feeling it wouldn't end with just an argument. Then, she saw him. Ethan stepped out from the shadow of an abandoned cafe across the street. His clothes were drenched, his hair plastered to his forehead, but his eyes, those deep, haunted eyes, were fixed only on her.
"Emma," he said softly, his voice cracking through the rain like static. "You shouldn't have come."
"You asked me to. You said you'd explain."
He hesitated, scanning the street before leading her into the alley behind the cafe. It was the same place they'd first met. En Bonstegdins, Soin, Bonsindim, in Germain-de-Stein. A narrow, dim passage lit only by the trembling light of a neon sign.
"You need to know the truth about me, about your family."
"My family? What do you mean?"
"The man you call your stepfather, Daniel Warren. He's not who he says he is."
"What are you talking about? He's an FBI agent."
"He's an agent, yes, but not the kind you think. He's been running a covert ring inside the bureau, selling classified intel to international clients. He framed me for the murder of his partner because I found out.
That's not possible. He raised me after my mom died. He's strict, sure, but...
Your mother didn't die in an accident, Emma.
The words sliced through her like lightning.
What?
She found out about his operation. She wanted to go to the authorities. He made it look like a car crash.
For a moment, the sound of rain vanished. All she could hear was the rush of blood in her ears. The ground seemed to tilt beneath her.
You're lying. You're just trying to turn me against him.
I wish I was lying. But I was there that night, Emma. I saw his car. I saw him. He doesn't know I survived.
You saw him?
And I've been hiding ever since, trying to gather proof. The files that can clear my name and expose him are still locked inside his personal drive at your house.
Emma's breath caught. Her house. If Ethan was telling the truth, then everything. Her mother's death, her stepfather's long absences, his paranoia, suddenly made a sickening kind of sense. But if he was lying, then she was standing alone in the dark with a murderer.
You don't have to trust me, Emma. Just look for the folder labeled Obsidian Files. It'll be in his office safe. Once you see what's inside, you'll understand.
Rain trickled down his face, and for the briefest second, she saw the boy beneath the outlaw, broken, frightened, and still human.
I can't promise anything.
That's all I ask.
Before she could respond, a pair of headlights swept across the alley. Ethan's expression changed instantly, from vulnerability to fear. He yanked her against the wall, shielding her as a black SUV rolled slowly by. Inside, through the tinted glass, Emma glimpsed a familiar silhouette. Her stepfather, Daniel Warren.
Ethan cursed under his breath. He's tracking you.
How could he know?
Because he's been monitoring your phone for months.
Emma's stomach twisted.
He took her hand. Go home. Act normal. Don't let him know you met me. And Emma, if anything happens, don't go to the police. They're his.
Then, before she could ask another question, he was gone, vanishing into the storm. Emma stood frozen, her heart splintering between truth and terror. The man she feared might be a killer. The man she trusted might be worse. And deep inside, she knew, tonight was just the beginning. The next morning, Emma could still feel the rain in her bones. It wasn't just the cold, it was the weight of what she had heard. Ethan's words kept echoing in her mind like a curse she couldn't silence.
Your mother didn't die in an accident. He made it look like a car crash.
Every time she tried to shake it off, her heart whispered back, what if it's true? Her stepfather, Daniel Warren, was in the kitchen when she came downstairs, dressed in his usual black suit, sipping his coffee, reading the newspaper like nothing in the world could disturb him.
Morning. You were out late last night. Where were you?
Her breath caught. He knows.
Just a study group. Rain didn't stop us.
Daniel studied her face for a long moment. His eyes were sharp, assessing, the way a wolf studies the silence before it attacks. Then he smiled again, slow and deliberate.
Good. You know how much I value honesty.
Of course.
When he left for work, she didn't move for 10 minutes. She waited until the sound of his car faded down the street before she finally exhaled. Her hands were trembling. She had to know the truth. Tonight. That evening, when the house was quiet, Emma walked toward Daniel's office. It was the one place she was never allowed to enter. A heavy oak door, a keypad lock, and behind it, secrets. She stood before it, her heart pounding. When Daniel had first installed the lock, she was 14 and curious. She'd watched him enter the code once. 2 digits had smudges. 2 had worn edges. She tried the combination she remembered, 1975, her mother's birth year. A soft click. The door opened. Inside, the office smelled of leather, ink, and something metallic. Faint but sharp. Guns. She moved carefully, scanning the bookshelves, the files, the framed medals. Then she saw it. The black safe behind a portrait of her mother. Her chest tightened as she pushed the frame aside. Why hide it behind her picture? She knelt, hands trembling as she entered the same code. Nothing.
He's predictable. Always uses what he loves as passwords.
Emma hesitated, then typed her mother's name, Clara. The lock clicked open. Inside, neatly stacked files glowed under the dim lamplight. She searched quickly until she found it, a thick folder labeled in red. Obsidian Files. Her pulse raced as she opened it. Inside were photos and staying. Inside were dozens of them. Her mother, Daniel, several men in suits. One of the photos showed Ethan standing beside Daniel, both wearing FBI vests. Attached was a report. Subject, Operation Obsidian. Objective, eliminate internal leak compromising classified intel sales. Status, Clara Warren, terminated. Cause listed, vehicular accident. Emma's throat closed. Her mother's name, next to the word terminated. She flipped through the pages, each one worse than the last. Bank transfers, forged documents, fake case files. Ethan's name appeared again, marked primary suspect for cover-up. Her eyes blurred with tears. Her mother hadn't been an accident victim. She had been erased. Then, at the bottom of the last page, she saw a photo, one taken only 2 days ago. It showed her meeting Ethan in the rain. Emma froze, a hidden camera, and beneath the photo, written in Daniel's neat handwriting, "She knows." A floorboard creaked behind her. She turned slowly. Daniel stood in the doorway, his face calm. Too calm. A gun in his hand.
I was hoping that you'd never find that file.
It's true, isn't it? You killed Mom.
He didn't answer, not with words. He just sighed, lowering the gun slightly, almost sadly.
You shouldn't have met him, Emma. Ethan's dangerous.
No, you are.
For the first time, Daniel's expression shifted, not to anger, but something colder.
Then you've made your choice.
He raised the gun, but before he could fire, the office window shattered, a single bullet hitting the frame beside his hand.
Scream.
Through the rain-slick window, she saw a shadow move. Ethan, he was here. She didn't know how she escaped the room. The next moments blurred. Daniel shouting, glass breaking, a rush of footsteps. Ethan's hand grabbing hers as they ran through the corridor. They burst through the back door into the night, the sound of gunfire chasing them down the driveway. "Get in!" Ethan yelled, shoving her into a waiting car. As they sped into the storm, Emma looked back, her home fading into darkness. Everything she knew was gone. Her family, her safety, her innocence. And now, the only person she could trust was the man everyone said was a criminal. The night swallowed them whole. Rain lashed against the windshield as Ethan drove, one hand gripping the steering wheel, the other loaded gun resting on his thigh. The wipers screamed across the glass, but it didn't clear the blur in Emma's mind. She sat in the passenger seat, soaked, trembling, and silent. Her stepfather had just tried to kill her. The house she grew up in, the same house where her mother once tucked her in every night, was now a crime scene waiting to happen. Ethan's voice broke through the hum of the storm. Emma flinched, looking at him. His face was cold, eyes sharp and tired. A small cut ran down his cheek.
And do I look okay? You said he was dangerous, not that he would kill me.
I didn't think he'd make a move this soon.
Soon? She repeated, disbelief thick in her voice. How long have you known?
He hesitated, eyes on the road. Long enough to know your stepfather isn't the man he pretends to be.
Tell me the truth, Ethan. What was Operation Obsidian?
For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he slowed the car, pulling over beside an abandoned gas station lit only by the flicker of a dying neon sign. He killed the engine and turned to face her. Rain dripped from his hair, his chest rising and falling heavily.
Your mother and I were partners, FBI Undercover Division. We were assigned to investigate corruption inside the Bureau. Your stepfather, Daniel Warren, was our target. He was selling classified intel to a private weapons contractor overseas.
You were working together?
He nodded. Clara was the best agent I'd ever known. Smart, fearless. But when she discovered that Daniel wasn't just a mole, that he was killing witnesses to cover his tracks, she wanted out. She wanted to protect you.
And he killed her for it.
He staged the crash, made it look like she lost control of the car. I tried to expose him afterward, but he framed me, said I tampered with evidence. I was suspended, discredited, and hunted.
So that's why you disappeared. That's why you found me now.
I didn't just find you, Emma. I've been watching you, making sure he didn't do to you what he did to her.
Silence hung heavy in the air. The truth was too large, too brutal.
You think he'll come after us again?
He already has.
They spent the night hiding in a safe house outside the city, an old cabin tucked deep into the woods. The rain had stopped, but the tension hadn't. Emma sat near the fireplace, staring into the flames. Her mind replayed Daniel's words, her mother's smile, the files she'd read. Every piece of her childhood was now a lie.
I've sent word to someone I trust inside the Bureau. They're going to dig into Daniel's recent transfers. If we can prove the money trail, we can bring him down.
And if we can't?
He met her gaze, then we disappear.
There was a pause. The firelight flickered across his face, softening his edges. For the first time, Emma noticed how tired he looked, like a man who had been fighting ghosts for years.
Why risk everything for me?
Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. Because your mother asked me to, the night before she died, she called me, said, if anything happens to me, protect Emma. Don't let him turn her into me.
Turn me into her?
He nodded. He tried to control your mother. Every move, every decision, every dream. And now that you're older, he's been trying to do the same to you. That's why he kept you close. Why he never let you go to college out of state. Why he made sure you trusted no one.
Her eyes filled with tears. She remembered all the times Daniel had called her his little girl, all the times he told her no one else could protect her like he could, and suddenly, it didn't sound like love, it sounded like control. A sound outside broke the silence. A car door slamming. Ethan froze, gun instantly in his hand. He signaled for her to stay quiet, then moved toward the window. 2 headlights cut through the trees, a black SUV, government plates.
Is it the Bureau?
Ethan shook his head slowly. No, it's him.
Daniel stepped out of the SUV, dressed in black again, his face calm, too calm. He was alone.
How the hell did he find us this fast?
Daniel's voice echoed across the clearing, cold and mocking. Ethan, you never were good at covering your tracks.
Back door, now.
They ran toward the rear exit, but before they could reach it, a bullet shattered the doorframe. Emma screams.
Daniel's voice came again, closer now. You think you can run from me, Emma? You're still my daughter.
Her blood ran cold. Ethan pulled her toward a hidden trapdoor in the floor. Down, now.
They dropped into a dark crawl space beneath the cabin, just as Daniel entered. Through the cracks in the floorboards, Emma saw his boots moving slowly across the room. She held her breath, gripping Ethan's hand so tight it hurt.
Then Daniel stopped directly above them. You can't hide forever. Sooner or later, you'll come home. You always do.
He walked out. The silence afterward was unbearable.
He's not going to stop until one of us is dead.
Then we make sure it's him.
The night swallowed them whole. Rain lashed against the windshield as Ethan drove, one hand gripping the steering wheel, the other loaded gun resting on his thigh. The wipers screamed across the glass, but it didn't clear the blur in Emma's mind. She sat in the passenger seat, soaked, trembling, and silent. 2 headlights cut through the trees. A black SUV with government plates. Daniel stepped out of the SUV, dressed in black again, his face calm, too calm. They spent the night hiding in a safe house outside the city, an old cabin tucked deep into the woods. The rain had stopped, but the tension hadn't. Emma sat near the fireplace, staring into the flames. Ethan drew his compact handgun from his thigh as the worn floorboards revealed a hidden trapdoor under a small rug. The next morning came with a cold silver fog that clung to the forest like breath on glass. Emma hadn't slept at all. Every sound, the crack of branches, the call of birds, made her flinch. She kept replaying Daniel's voice in her head, the way he'd said you'll come home. Ethan was already up, crouched by the cabin table covered in open files, maps, and an old laptop. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw tense with focus.
You haven't slept either.
Can't afford to. I just hacked into the Bureau's encrypted network using Clara's old credentials. Daniel's been moving money through shell companies under a false name, Richard Hale. I traced 3 major transfers to a private military contractor in Nevada.
What kind of transfers?
Weapon shipments, experimental tech, the kind that could make him untouchable if he sells it to the right people.
So it's not just about us.
No, it's about power.
He pushed a photo across the table, a surveillance still of Daniel shaking hands with a man in a suit. The timestamp read 2 weeks ago.
That's Victor Crane, ex-CIA, now runs Blackstone Defense Systems. He's been buying tech straight off government prototypes. If Daniel's supplying him, it means the corruption goes all the way to the top.
Then we don't just expose him, we burn his empire down.
Then we start today.
They drove through 2 states, keeping to back roads, changing license plates twice. At an abandoned diner outside Reno, Ethan made a call to an old contact named Marisol Vega, a former cyber intelligence analyst who owed him a favor. Marisol met them in a cracked parking lot, leaning against a black Jeep with tinted windows. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, and she wore a leather jacket with a shoulder holster showing just slightly.
"Damn, Ethan," she said, smirking. "You look like hell."
He gave her a tired grin. "It's been a long week."
She looked at Emma. "And this must be the girl your whole mess revolves around."
Emma stiffened. "You could say that."
Marisol opened the Jeep door and tossed Ethan a USB drive. "Here's your data. You're right, your friend Daniel's been busy, but it's worse than you think."
Ethan plugged it into his laptop and scanned the files. His face went pale.
"What is it?" Emma asked.
Marisol leaned against the car. "Daniel's not just selling classified weapons. He's trying to erase his trail by wiping the Bureau's internal logs, permanently. He has someone on the inside scheduled to execute a digital burn tomorrow night."
Ethan cursed. "If that happens, we lose every shred of evidence."
Emma's heart pounded. "Then we have to stop it."
Marisol sighed. "You've got less than 24 hours, and half of Washington wants your head, Ethan. You sure you still know how to dance in the dark?"
He glanced at Emma. "I don't have a choice."
That night, they broke into a government data facility hidden beneath a communications tower outside Las Vegas. Rain had started again. Light, cold, unending. The air reeked of ozone and metal. Ethan moved like a ghost through the corridors, disabling cameras with a small EMP device, while Emma followed close behind with a backpack full of flash drives. Her pulse was racing. She'd never done anything like this before, but the fear had burned away, replaced by something colder. Purpose. When they reached the main server room, Ethan connected the drive Marisol gave him. "Once I upload this," he said, "we'll have proof of Daniel's entire operation, payments, emails, hit orders, everything." He typed fast, eyes flicking between code lines. Then, a soft click. Emma froze. What was that? The lights flickered. Then a voice came through the loudspeaker. Smooth, familiar, venomous. "Still playing the hero, Ethan?" "Daniel." Ethan's hands froze over the keyboard. "He's here." The door slammed open. Daniel walked in flanked by two armed men, his expression unreadable. He looked immaculate. Dark suit, not a hair out of place. But his eyes, those eyes burned with something almost feral. "Hello, sweetheart," he said to Emma. "You've been busy." She stepped forward, fury trembling in her voice. "You killed Mom." Daniel tilted his head slightly. "No, darling. Your mother killed herself the day she betrayed me. You just never wanted to believe it." Emma's vision blurred with rage. Ethan moved protectively in front of her. "Let her go, Daniel," he said evenly. Daniel smirked. "Oh, Ethan, you've always been predictable, that's why you'll lose." He snapped his fingers. His men raised their guns but before they could fire, Emma threw a smoke bomb Marisol had packed into her bag. Chaos exploded. Ethan grabbed Emma's arm and dove behind the server racks. Bullets shredding metal around them. Sparks filled the air. "Go, go!" Ethan shouted, dragging her toward the exit. They ran through the corridors, alarms blaring, guards closing in. Ethan shot a lock off a maintenance door, shoving Emma through first. They stumbled out into the rain, gasping, just as Daniel emerged behind them, gun drawn. Ethan turned, aiming, but Daniel was faster. The shot rang out. Ethan dropped to his knees. "Ethan!" Emma screamed, catching him as he fell. Blood spread across his shirt, crimson against the rain. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his weapon. His voice was cold, almost tender. "Don't worry, darling. I won't kill you. You're still mine to fix." Emma looked up, tears mixing with the rain, and pure hatred in her eyes. Not anymore. She grabbed Ethan's gun from the ground and fired. One shot, straight through Daniel's shoulder. He staggered back, stunned. Sirens wailed in the distance. Marisol had triggered the emergency signal. Daniel's men dragged him into the SUV, retreating as red and blue lights filled the horizon. Emma held Ethan close, sobbing. "Stay with me. Please." He coughed weakly, forcing a faint smile. "You did good, kid." As the police swarmed the site, Emma looked back at the burning facility and knew it wasn't over. Daniel Warren wasn't dead, and villains like him didn't stay in the shadows forever. 3 months had passed since that night. Emma still remembered every flash, the rain, the sirens, the way Ethan's blood stained her hands. He'd survived the gunshot, but barely. The Bureau had stepped in to protect them after Marisol leaked the files that exposed Daniel's crimes. His empire had crumbled, his accounts were frozen, his men scattered, but Daniel Warren himself had vanished. They never found his body. And Emma knew, deep down, that meant only one thing: he was still out there. The safe house in Oregon was quiet, buried deep within the forest. Ethan's recovery was slow. His shoulder still ached when he tried to lift heavy things, but he was healing, both in body and heart. Sometimes, Emma would catch him staring out the window, watching the pine trees sway, his expression unreadable.
You think he's dead?
I've learned not to believe in easy endings.
Neither do I.
She placed 2 cups of coffee on the table and sat opposite him. The soft hum of the heater filled the silence. Ethan looked at her then, studying her face, the shadows under her eyes, the way her fingers tapped nervously on the cup.
You've changed.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
It's not. You're stronger now, but you've lost something too.
Innocence?
Ethan's silence was answer enough. Later that night, the quiet was shattered by the crunch of tires outside. Ethan's instincts kicked in instantly. He grabbed his gun from the drawer and motioned for Emma to stay back. The headlights cut through the trees, slow and deliberate.
Marisol?
Maybe, but his gut said otherwise.
He stepped to the window and froze. The car stopped 20 feet from the cabin. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, calm, wearing a black coat. His face was hidden by the rain, but his stance, his presence, unmistakable. Daniel.
How?
But Daniel's voice cut through the storm, amplified by the silence around them.
Come now, Emma. Did you really think you could hide from me?
You were supposed to be dead.
Death is just a luxury for the weak.
One more step and I'll finish what she started.
Ah, Ethan. Always the guard dog. Loyal to a fault. But tell me, did she tell you what really happened the night her mother died?
Stop.
She begged for forgiveness. I would have given it too, if she hadn't aimed the gun first.
You're lying.
Am I? You think you know everything, little one, but you don't even know who your real father is.
The words hit like a bomb. But Daniel smirked, lowering his voice to a poisonous whisper.
Oh, she doesn't know. Poor girl. Her mother's biggest secret. She was already pregnant when I married her. I took care of her, raised Emma as my own. And how does she repay me? By betraying me for a stranger.
Emma's world tilted. The floor seemed to vanish beneath her feet.
You're not my father.
Daniel's eyes softened, but his tone stayed cruel. I was everything a father should be, until she chose to become my enemy.
He's trying to break you. Don't listen.
But Emma couldn't stop trembling. The lies, the love, the hate, it all spun together until she couldn't tell what was real anymore.
I didn't come here to kill you, Emma. I came here to finish the story properly.
Ethan fired a warning shot.
But Daniel didn't flinch. He just smiled. You still don't get it, do you? I'm not the villain in her story, you are.
And with that, 2 more gunshots exploded from the forest, from behind them. Ethan spun around, but it was too late. 2 men in tactical gear stepped from the shadows, guns raised, Daniel's reinforcements. Ethan shouted, tackling Emma to the floor as bullets shattered the cabin windows. Wood splintered, sparks flew. They burst out into the storm, sprinting through the trees as Daniel's voice echoed behind them. You can't run from the truth forever, Emma. Rain lashed her face, tears blending with the storm. She stumbled, gasping for breath. Ethan caught her, pulling her behind a fallen tree.
We have to split. They'll catch us both if we stay together.
No, I'm not leaving you. I lost one family already. I'm not losing another.
Ethan met her eyes, full of fire, defiance, heartbreak, and finally nodded.
Then we end this.
As the storm raged on, Daniel's men spread out through the woods with flashlights and radios. But Emma wasn't the same frightened girl anymore. She was the hunted who had learned to hunt. She circled around the clearing, gun in hand, mind sharp. Every sound, every breath, calculated. When one of Daniel's men came near, she took him down silently, retrieving his radio.
I'll get lost visual, she said, mimicking his tone perfectly.
For the first time in years, she felt control, power.
But Daniel's voice soon cut through the static. Emma, darling, you always were your mother's daughter. Smart but reckless. Come out before I burn this whole forest to the ground.
Her breath hitched. He would. And then, through the trees, she saw him, standing under the flickering beam of a flashlight, coat drenched, eyes gleaming like a predator. Daniel Warren, the devil who once called himself her father, and Emma Hale, the girl who had finally stopped running. Rain fell like shattered glass, slicing through the silence that wrapped the forest. Emma stood across from Daniel, her soaked hair clinging to her cheeks, gun trembling in her hand. The storm raged between them, lightning flashing across their faces. Two souls bound by blood, hate, and a history that refused to die. Ethan was somewhere behind her, injured but alive. She could hear his labored breaths and the distant hum of approaching sirens. But here, right now, it was only her and Daniel. The man who had raised her. The man who had ruined her life. Daniel smiled faintly, rain dripping from his jaw.
You think this ends with you pulling that trigger?
Emma's grip tightened.
It ends when you stop hurting people.
He took a slow step forward, his voice soft but cruel.
I loved you, Emma. More than your mother ever did. She didn't understand power. She wanted peace. You could have ruled beside me.
Rule? You call manipulation and murder ruling?
Daniel's eyes flickered with pride and madness.
Everything I did to protect you. You think those men, your precious FBI, your little lover boy, care about you? You're just a pawn to them, same as your mother.
Stop, she said, voice trembling.
He hissed, stepping closer. You want the truth? Your mother didn't kill herself. I found out she was leaving me, taking you with her. She begged me to let her go. I couldn't. So I made sure she'd never leave again.
Emma's entire body went numb. The world tilted.
You killed her?
Daniel's expression didn't change. He just tilted his head, almost proud.
She made me do it. The betrayal broke me, Emma. Just like you did.
The gun in her hand felt heavier than ever.
I used to think there was still something human left in you, she whispered. But you're just empty.
He took another step forward, opening his arms slightly, daring her.
Then end it. Do what your mother couldn't. Pull the trigger, Emma. Prove you're nothing like her.
For a second, she saw herself as a child again, sitting on the floor, coloring, while Daniel laughed beside her. That memory, once warm, now curdled into poison. Tears burned down her face. Her hand shook, but she didn't lower the gun.
I'm not like her, she said softly. I'm stronger.
Daniel smiled, a final twisted smile. Lightning flashed. A single gunshot tore through the storm. Daniel staggered back, eyes wide in disbelief. For a heartbeat, he looked almost peaceful. Then he fell, the rain swallowing the sound as he hit the ground. Emma's hand fell limp at her side. The gun clattered onto the mud. Her breath came in broken sobs.
Ethan ran to her, wrapping his arms around her shaking body. It's over, he's gone.
But Emma just stared at Daniel's lifeless form. No, it'll never be over. Not really.
Days later, the headlines read, Business Tycoon, Daniel Warren dead, after shootout in Oregon forest, massive criminal network exposed. Emma sat in a sterile hospital room, her arm bandaged, watching the rain through the window. Ethan entered quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee.
They want you to testify next week, you ready?
Not yet, but I will be.
Ethan set the coffee beside her, then sat next to her in silence.
Do you ever think people like us can heal?
Maybe not all the way, but maybe we can learn to live with the scars.
Scars are proof we survived.
Outside, the clouds began to break, sunlight bleeding through. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle. She took a long breath, closing her eyes, letting the warmth touch her face for the first time in years. Her story had been one of lies, betrayal, and pain, but also resilience. She had faced the man who destroyed her childhood, and though the wounds would never fully fade, she had finally taken her life back. Months later, on a quiet evening, Emma stood by her mother's grave. A small bouquet of white lilies rested in her hand.
I found the truth, Mom, and I made it end.
The wind moved softly through the trees like an answer she'd waited years to hear. She turned to leave, and found Ethan waiting by the car, smiling gently.
You ready to go home?
Emma looked back one last time at the grave, then nodded. Yes, finally.
As they walked away, the camera of life panned upward, rain giving way to sunlight, the scars of the past fading into the glow of morning, and for the first time, Emma felt free.